We are fucking strange. It's not a lack of resources that we have. It's just how those resources are being allocated. Those resources are being allocated in these really weird ways.
It's a numbers game, but shit don't add up somehow.
This NSA whistleblower, his name is William Binney, and he was at that agency for 32 years, and he was actually the technical director there. He says that after 9/11, the NSA went from using their incredible power to monitor stuff overseas, which is their mandate to do that, tap into satellite phones and tap in overseas internet traffic and all of that stuff. They went from doing that to turning this incredible surveillance weapon against our own people. And it became a full-blown effort to record pretty much everything that we're doing here in the US. And that includes every citizen who has access to the internet or a cell phone. The way they get around this, because it appears to be blatantly unconstitutional, the Fourth Amendment, they have an interpretation from what the whistleblower was saying. They have an interpretation that we're not actually violating your Fourth Amendment rights because we're only taking this information in and storing it in our databases.
40% of Americans own a cell phone so they can hear everything that you say when you ain't home.
We're not actually, there's nobody with, a pair of headphones and a computer screen in front of them. We're just saving this.
Rock your hard hat black as you in the terror dome.
And I think people are a little naive about it, what they're giving away, because people are so excited to have geotags. There's a company that always knows where you are. Like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
And there's a new thing, the cloud. They want you to go to the cloud. And they are selling it as a great idea. You don't need your stuff. Just give it to us and we'll keep it on the cloud. It's fine. You don't have to. And you're like, really? But those are my pictures and we'll keep it on the cloud.
It's mathematics.
The average person who works 8 hours a day, who has a mortgage, bills, a car lease, things to think about, relationship troubles, do they even know what the fuck is going on?
They're not aware of what's happening. They're busy watching Real Housewives of Orange County.
Can't wait to get home to watch the latest Kim Kardashian show. Or they'll say something like, well, they're over there fighting for our freedom. They're over there fighting for our freedom. That one fucking hurts it. Because if we are the biggest superpower in the world, we have military bases in over 100 countries. This is all falling apart right before our eyes. And most people are just stuck in traffic.
I wanted to do a show called Where Are All the Adults, because we're in China. There's a 2-week traffic jam going from Mongolia to Beijing. And you're saying, well, 2-week traffic jam, and you have to produce 3% more cars every year. Where are all the adults? Like, what, it's crazy. And so I was just in Afghanistan, and we were shooting with child suicide bombers who we got failed suicide bombers who were 8 and 10 years old. Children being transportation devices for TNT is not the modern society that I think a lot of people envisioned. Right. We're going backwards, right? And then right after that, we went to shoot in Mexico, which is the most dangerous place in the world for journalists. Why? Because the cartels run it, and they'll kill you if they see a camera. And kidnapping is a revenue source, kidnapping and beheading, and you're like, what? This is the modern age. This is what we have technology. We have iPhones, and we're sitting there having suicide bombers and kidnapping. We're literally regressing, and I think that part of my problem with MTV is that they built the largest youth platform in the world. But what are they saying? And I think at some point you have to open this veil and say, look, things are messed up. Things are messed up environmentally. Things are messed up politically. Things are messed up, but not politically like right and left. Things are messed up, so messed up that it's become absurd.
The system is inadequate for the information that's available.
I keep waiting for truth in advertising, like Crest, it gets the shit out. Just say what it does and just don't have a fucking wind-blown hair and a motorcycle. And TV is derivative of itself.
Wait, did you ever wonder how all this happened? How you can turn that knob and enjoy a dramatic show, laugh at a comedian, watch the ball game, or hear and see news from anywhere in the world? Well, it's quite a story, the story of television.
as human beings, we just want to forget. We just want TV, more just spectacular shit, just fucking lots of stuff, because we like to bury our heads in the sand. I went to do the upfronts, which is where all the TV shows get sold and online shows get sold, and we're coming up with all these show formats for young people. Well, what the fuck is happening in the world? Wait a second, there's a disconnect here. So you're taking young people, taking away their future, and then saying, well, what are we going to give you? 2.5 Men is moving from Monday to Thursday fucking night. Basically, young people all over the world are pissed off, right? They're fucking angry. Where's the media? This is a changing of the guard, from the baby boomers actually to Gen Y, which is now the largest cohort, and yet we're just not doing it. So, what does this mean? There was the sort of our grandparents' generation that they didn't know better, so they were like, oh, space age food, the TV dinners, but they didn't know any better. The technology was sort of their, savior. But the baby boomers, they were the first generation that knew better, but still became the largest energy consumers, the largest garbage producers. Gen X has sort of slipped by, but guess what? The bill's here, and it's going to be Gen Y. Like, they have to pay. There is no get-out-of-jail-free card now. We're shifting. And if you just want to sort of say, I'm going to stick my head in the sand, I don't think you're going to be able to anymore. TV is just shit. And 90% of it's shit. Everyone has their 4 favorite shows, great, but it's shit. TV is derivative of itself. You're like, what's the number 1 show? The Voice. What's The Voice? It's American Idol 2.0. It's just networks stealing from other networks. American Idol was shit, now The Voice is shittier, but it's popular. So TV is derivative of itself, right? Which is bad. That's bad. What's worse is online is derivative of TV. Instead of doing something innovative and challenging and revolutionary, we just do shittier versions of TV shows with half the budget. It's all just derivative fucking crap. We have real historical change happening. We have real huge problems. And by the way, young people are revolting all around the world, and this is how they get their news now. They get it through blogs and online shit here and there. They don't even watch TV anymore. And at some point you have to say, okay, guess what? I'm not going to reach Gen Y by, being sort of this perfect, politically correct, everything's fine, the world's lovey-dovey. It's not, because they don't live in that fucking world. And that's where there's the biggest disconnect in media today. Cartoons are made to sell cereal. They've been marketed to since they were fucking children. So they've developed the most sophisticated bullshit detectors on Earth. The only way to sort of circumnavigate those bullshit detectors is to not bullshit.
The shocking thing, though, is the news. The news really is shocking. There's a lot of shit that just doesn't get described, and the way it's explained is like it's very off. Like, try getting the real scoop on WikiLeaks from watching the news. You don't know what the fuck is going on.
So everyone's like, the liberal media, what fucking liberal media? They're all afraid of losing Budweiser or GM as a fucking advertiser. 4 companies run all news media, and they're all major global corporations that all have huge advertising, and they're conflicted, and they don't go after politicians. Obviously, Afghanistan, Iraq, with media lying blatantly to, losing its job as the fourth estate and trying to keep politicians and corruption in check, instead going, oh, well, you're anti-American unless you wave the flag. And I think that young people said, well, since when did it become anti-American to question government? The news media became part of a government propaganda program, and everybody just went along with it. And that's fucking scary. So I think that, people left in droves. Like, I'm not Jesus Christ, I don't have the solution. But what I'm saying is, you want to have some awareness of all this stuff, and then say, okay, how do we vote with our dollars? Because, we can't really vote with our feet. Everyone is begging for the same advertising. Yeah. Because, look, advertising makes content. I'm not about to say it doesn't. But what kind of content? And look, that's another thing, too, is brands are risk adverse. Everyone wants Gen Y, but they're all afraid to say fuck.
I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Don't ever go over my head again, you stupid sucker, you.
You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps?
People don't think that's a big deal. Like, I always make a big deal out of the fact that, censorship of certain words. People say, what's the big deal? Why do you have to be rude? Why can't you just, not say those particular words or when you're around certain people or in certain situations? Like, that's a way of controlling us. It's nonsense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Words don't mean anything other than intention. It's poison to the language. It's terrible to have words that you can't use around certain people and you can't use when you broadcast them.
I want people to buy me fucking book.
Oh, you want me to watch my mouth? How? Take my fucking eyeballs out and turn them around?
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Censorship is what? It offends people? Why does it offend people? You don't have to listen to it. It's nonsense. It's a fucking huge distraction. It's just a word. Whether you say I fucked her or I had sex with her, you can't say I fucked her. Like, is that really hurting someone's feelings? I think networks look ridiculous trying to just only use limited language. It's like, and with movies and like, what kind of a fucking stupid anti-evolutionary concept is that? Are we going to pretend forever that these words are forbidden? Like, really? We're living in 2012 with the internet and we've got forbidden words. Not this ridiculous idea that there's good words and bad words and there's alternative words for the good words and the bad words that mean exactly the same thing with no confusion whatsoever. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're children. You know, what the fuck kind of science fiction movie is this? There's certain sounds you can't make with your mouth. You're artificially giving these words power and making them ridiculous. But that's why I think the internet has so much appeal to, especially to younger people. It's like, if you grow up with it, it's really hard to go sitcom.
Well, the whole country is full of shit when it comes to free speech and free thought, because all of us, and I mean both, I should say all ideologies, liberal and conservative, have an asterisk. Like, you're free to say this and do this as long as. Yeah. And for the liberals, it's what they call hate speech and anything that's racial or homophobia. And for the conservatives, it's, hey, don't fuck with God and country. But both sides are equally phony when it comes to, like, when's the last time, a feminist stuck up for a guy who said something about women that was unpleasant because he has the right to say it? Never. Like, where were all these people when Tracy Morgan said what he said? Why, when people went after him, why didn't they just stick up for him and go, we don't like what he said, but he's got the right to say it and there should be no penalty for it? That's what I mean. And none of these groups, which would take them 2 seconds to put out that fucking memo, but GLAAD has never done it. None of them have done it.
And their ideology is that this guy needs to be punished. Right. Because if he's punished and it costs him a lot of money, then people are going to stop thinking like that. Right. They're going to stop expressing themselves like that.
It's a fraudulent stance, and every side does it, and it drives me fucking crazy.
I think it's because people have this idea, a lot of people, I should say, have this idea that if you don't agree with them, you're wrong. I hope that that's something that the internet's going to dissolve.
Online is a revolution. The internet is a revolution, and we should be revolutionary when we think about the content we put on it, rather than derivative. And rather than mimic the shit of TV and make it worse, let's say, fuck it. The internet isn't TV. It's different. It's better. And you know what? Twitter and Facebook, unbeknownst to them, started changing the world with Arab Spring. So why don't we fucking embrace it and get content that reflects this and actually make content that young people actually give a shit about? Thank you, and good night.
I mean, for as much as we like to talk about the negative aspects of humans, and man, lately on this podcast, it's really been a bummer.
You know, I love the promise of America. I love the people. I think it's the greatest country in the world. What I don't like is the fact that we suck up so much propaganda. This is the land of the free. We're supposed to have a free media that tells the truth, and then we make up our own mind.
If the United States government can have a real succinct debate with the American people about why we're invading other countries, that would be some fascinating shit. If we could do that on television and have but no, we don't get any decision-making capabilities at all when it comes to that stuff. We all hope if humanity keeps evolving that we're going to get past this ridiculous system of crime and violence and poverty and eventually move on to some elevated level of society. And when our government is being run by hacks and dummies, it's a real problem. They're all doing themselves a disservice. Everybody should be trying to move this fucking thing further than where it's at right now. And we're supposed to just ignore it, because Honey Boo Boo's on TV.
I believe there's a lot of people like you and there's a lot of people like me out there, and we become disenfranchised because media is big business. We're sort of pushed out. There's only two parties in this country, and I know that you're a libertarian, and I'm like, look, I think there should be 3, 4, 5 parties in this country, because if there's only two parties in the country, then they're always in power. That means both parties are always in power, and that's not a democracy.
Yeah.
And I think what you have to do is you have to say, look, there's a lot of people people like us out there. We have to start by telling the truth, and then once we've told the truth, we have to say, now what do we do to try to go forward and not go backwards?
Walk stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me.